Chris, this hour to the US, where Washington says it's imposing sanctions on major Russian oil companies as it ramps up the pressure on Moscow, and the Ukrainian president seeks more foreign military assistance. Separately, the NATO chief, who's in Washington for talks at the White House, has reiterated his belief that only Donald Trump can achieve peace between Moscow and Kyiv. Well, for the very latest, let's cross live now to our own Fraser Jackson. He's standing by for us there in Washington. Fraser, reporters there being told a short time ago about a substantial pickup in Russian sanctions. What more do we know, and how significant is this announcement?
Yeah. Earlier in the day, we got a tease from the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying that these sanctions will be coming at either at the end of the day or at the beginning of Thursday. Well, late into the afternoon, we got the sanction package dropped by the Treasury, which says today's actions increase pressure on Russia's energy sector and degrade the Kremlin's ability to raise revenue for its war machine and support its weakened economy. Now, Bessent gave some reasoning behind these sanctions, saying given President Putin's refusal to end this senseless war, Treasury is sanctioning Russia's two largest oil companies that fund the Kremlin's war machine. Now, those two oil companies are Rosneft and Lukoil. Those both entities coming under US sanctions, and that will mean that any US entity or any part of the business which has more than 50% interest by the US will then be part of the sanctions package. Now, Bessent gave a bit more of his rationale behind these sanctions. A few hours before they were released, he spoke to Fox News and said that the sanctions were given the go-ahead by Donald Trump because Putin wasn't honest and forthright with the US in discussions, adding that Trump was, quote, disappointed at where we are in these talks. Now, this might not be the only package of sanctions that we're going to see on Russia. There is also a bill making its way through the Senate, led by Senator Lindsey Graham, that is also looking to levy steep sanctions on Russia, and that has dozens of sponsors on Capitol Hill. Lawmakers are really just waiting for the go-ahead from the White House to bring that bill up for a vote. Donald Trump has been asked about it in the past, but he has yet to give the green light on that package. Whether that will now go ahead due to Donald Trump's seeming annoyance at Vladimir Putin here remains to be seen.
And Fraser, this all comes as the NATO Secretary General is about to hold talks with Donald Trump. He's currently in Washington. Any coincidence there? What exactly is Mark Rutte expected to address with Donald Trump?
Yeah, we're expecting to see Mark Rutte with Donald Trump and to hear from the Secretary General of NATO as well. Donald Trump's praises being sung by Rutte while he was on Capitol Hill early in the day. Rutte saying that Donald Trump is the only man who can get this peace deal done. He did, however, play down claims that this meeting with Trump was a result of President Zelensky's fractious meeting that took place in the Oval Office last Friday. He said that this was a meeting that had been planned before, saying that he was texting with the president after what he called an enormous success in Gaza and said, hey, let's have a meeting in Washington to discuss how we can now deliver this kind of vision in Ukraine. So Mark Rutte here trying to kind of get Donald Trump back on side, as it were, after that meeting that we know did not go the way that Zelensky wanted. He did not get the Tomahawk missiles, and Donald Trump even repeating some of the Kremlin talking points to Zelensky, and we know that rattled some cages in Europe once Zelensky debriefed European leaders on that meeting that he had with Donald Trump. So Rutte here will be trying to get the president back on side and try to get him back to the position he was just a month ago when he believed that Ukraine could win this war with the help of NATO.
Fraser, thanks so much for that. That is Fraser Jackson, our correspondent, joining us live there from Washington.